the Michigan Patriot. Hello, Michigan Patriots, and hello all of you Patriots out there. There's a lot of debate going on, and some very angry parents rising up all over the country in defiance of any state mandates for their children being forced to wear a mask. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recommended children 2 and older in grades K through 12 wear face masks. This is largely due to the fact that there are no vaccines for children under 12. Recently, I was reading an article on MLive, which asked the question, do face masks harm children? A Penn State Children's Hospital, Dr. Patrick Gavigan, states that there's nothing wrong with children wearing masks for 8 hours per day while attending class. There are a lot of parents who are very concerned with the possibility of having children forced to wear a mask to attend school. They also claim that this is a decision that should be held up to the parents, which takes away the parents' right to decide what is best for their children. Gavigan goes on to claim that they have had great success doing this with kids in the hospital, and claims that he is unaware of any research on masks causing any harm, including emotional. Further into the article, we read Gavigan discussing how to overcome a very young child having trouble wearing a mask. He says, I think it's certainly something that parents can start working with their children on around the age of 2, and also suggest explaining that this is to keep them and their loved ones safe. There are studies that have been done on the possible dangers of children wearing masks. There was a group of parents in Florida that had their kids' used masks sent in for testing. After the testing, they found pathogens such as pneumonia, tuberculosis, and meningitis, sepsis, to name a few. We also have had interviews with NIH Dr. Francis Collins, where he uses a comparison of a blitz done in London during World War II, where lights had to be turned off so you would not become a target, and that those who have had concerns about their freedoms being trampled on are like the same as saying, I am going to keep my lights on, which is an absolute terrible comparison. Recently, Matt Walsh addressed the school board in his community on mandating masks on children. Let's hear what he has to say.
You and the school board have decided that our kids should go to school all day, every day, wearing muzzles like rabid dogs. I have listened to your arguments, and I've noticed that they're missing a few things, namely evidence, data, science, common sense, and basic human decency. You presented no facts at all, so let me do that now. Here they are. COVID poses almost no risk to our kids at all. 4.2 million children have tested positive for COVID. A total of 0.008% of them have died. What about the flu? The CDC estimates that 480 kids died from the flu in the 2018-2019 season. That's more than have died from COVID in a year and a half. Now, did anyone on this board suggest at any point that year that kids wear masks? Did anyone in this room suggest that at any point anyone wear masks for flu, which again is more dangerous to kids than COVID? That's a fact. Now, do you know what it's called when you force your children to wear masks for fear of a virus that poses almost no threat to them? It's called child abuse. You want to look up a disease, look up Munchausen by proxy, because that's what this is. If you think I'm exaggerating, then how would you respond to a parent who forced his kid to wear a football helmet every day, all day, for fear of falling coconuts and meteors? Your kid is almost as likely to die of COVID as he is from a rock from the sky, and yet if you saw that, you would say to that parent that he is abusive, that he is forcing his kid to participate in this utterly insane charade in order to satisfy his delusional, psychotic hypochondria. Now, do any of you know what sort of psychological damage we do to children by forcing them to cover their faces, teaching them that the air is toxic, that everyone around them is sick, depriving them of the ability to see each other's faces? Do you know what kind of damage that does? Have you thought about it? Have you wondered about the health effects of forcing kids to breathe through sweat and spit and dirt-soaked rags every single day? Are you sure that there are no health risks? Do you know what the effect is on children developmentally if they're not able to read each other's facial cues? What about learning to read and they can't see the teacher enunciating the words? What does it do to a child's developing immune system if he has to wear a mask all day, every day? You're satisfied to place this burden on children anyway, and why? It's not to keep them safe. They are safe. It's not to keep the adults safe. They can all get vaccinated if they want. No, you do it to make yourselves feel better and to protect yourselves politically. The child's mask is a symbolic security blanket for you, not them. It's a disgrace and you should all be ashamed. Thank you for your time.
Fellow Americans, We need to be extremely careful with the line we start to tiptoe when it comes to our children. Compromising with our freedoms as they use our children can be a very dangerous game to play. Once we allow government to gradually cross that boundary of what is parents' rights to children, it can quickly become states' laws over your children. We have gradually seen the state's encroachment on our children over the last 2 decades, using arms of the government such as Friend of the Court and CPS. Whether you are for or against mandates on our children, this should concern all of us greatly. Stay safe, fellow patriots.